In today's video, we're talking about how to know that you are called as a prophet. So if you've been wrestling and maybe you grew up in a charismatic or even a non-charismatic tradition, but you feel that there's this pull to something more, pull to the spiritual gifts, a pull to hear God in his heart and solutions on behalf of others, then I encourage you to stay tuned for this video. If you're new here, hello, my name is Apostle Nicole. I'm the founder and CEO of Selah Coaching Academy, and we are committed to the raising up of God's prophets in this generation. So if that is you, or you're thinking and leaning towards that you and you're trying to figure that out, I encourage you to continue on this series with us. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button for continued content. The first step to really discerning the calling is really looking at some of the things that we might consider more hidden signs. And we actually have a full YouTube video for you up here on the 3 hidden signs that you are called to the prophetic office. One of the things I just want to emphasize for you in this first point is that it's not a black and white journey. At the end of the day, as you are discerning what God has called you to do as his disciple, as his daughter, as his son, as you are being transformed by the gospel and in the work of Jesus Christ in you, God will begin to speak to you about how he wants you to serve. And oftentimes we can idolize prophetic giftings and prophetic callings, and we kind of think like that's the end all be all to ministry. But it's one gift in the body of Christ. It's an amazing gift. It's an incredible gift. It's a needed gift. And in this house, we're committed to the restoration of the prophets in the body of Christ. But first and foremost, we must recognize that a lot of the signs are going to be more subtle. So I do want to encourage you to learn more about that with our other video. And also recognize, again, it's not a black and white journey of discernment. It's progressional as you're transformed into the image of Jesus in your personal life, and God speaks to you about what he's called you to do, and then from that place he equips you to do it. So an example of my own life, when I was growing in the prophetic, and I did not grow up in a community that was teaching on the spiritual gifts or actively activating people in the spiritual gifts, but as I was growing my discipleship to Jesus, and God delivered me from depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and the effects of sexual trauma, things like that, countering the love of God, the Lord would lead me on my campus to just to encourage people and to prophesy people. He would be, and I didn't know it was necessarily prophecy at the time, but he would just be like, go tell this person X, Y, Z. Go tell them that I love them. Go tell them that I'm healing this person. And at the time, I didn't know I was operating words of knowledge. I did not know what that was. I just knew that God said to go tell this person that he wants to heal, deliver them, and set them free. And so again, if you grew up in a tradition where, or perhaps you're on YouTube and you're getting into this kind of what we call the charismatic space where we talk a lot about the gifts, sometimes it's very easy for that to become an idol for us. So my first challenge to it in this discernment process is ask the Lord to reveal if it is an idolatry to you. Ask him, really, what is this season about for you? Maybe this season is more so about healing. Maybe this is about being more rooted in the word. I was growing in the prophetic. I ultimately was called in the office of prophet in my local church. But even in that journey, there was a season where God had me planted in Christian communities, and it was most of my upbringing as well, that was not charismatic, that was not prophetic, and that was so fundamental for me to be rooted in the word. So now when I prophesy, I always have the scriptural reference, and a lot of times, especially in a culture where there's a lot of prophecy, it's not very rooted in Bible. And so I share this story on our other channel, but I have a friend who, he literally, every time he prophesies, he just quotes. I mean, he's memorized the entire book of Romans. So when he prophesies, he will quote you like a lot of Bible, and it's very meaty and it's very weighty. And so, as you're discerning the call, don't see it as this kind of linear path of like, I just need to practice more prophecy and I just need to know I'm a prophet, and then all my problems will be solved. Grow in discipleship to Jesus. Ask him what this season is about. Ask him about your purpose, and then let the gifts follow. So the second point to knowing if you are a prophet, if you have a hunger just to grow in prophecy. So I know in our last point, I just challenge you to let that go. At the same time, if you do have that desire to grow in prophecy like I did have a desire to know more about the spiritual gifts. According to the word in letter to the church in Corinth from the Apostle Paul, he says, pursue the spiritual gifts, especially that you might prophesy. As I read that and I was challenged with that, and the Lord was saying, hey, I want to grow you in prophecy. I want to grow you in your ability to hear me, not just for your own personal life, but for others. As I came to understand that that was an invitation from the Lord, I was hungry to be in spaces that would challenge me to grow. I was hungry to be around prophets. I was hungry to be around people that knew things that I didn't know. I was hungry to read books on the prophetic. And if that's you, that is the Spirit of God inside of you, stirring up the gift and pushing you unto your call. But again, recognize that on this discernment journey, on this path, it's not so much much about the gift itself. It's what the gift empowers you to do in service to the body of Christ. And so if you are having that hunger to prophesy, great, but continue to ask the Lord, what is the purpose by which this prophetic gift is allowing me to fulfill? So we have another video for you up here. You can also watch on how to discern the prophetic calling. And so that video speaks more so to the call to the gift. Not everyone is called to the office, and we'll talk in a moment about what that means, what that looks like, but just recognize that it is a progressional journey, again, like we said, and that is not going to be something that we come to terms with overnight, but it will be made clear to you day by day as you faithfully pursue the face of Jesus.